Is it the state's place to dictate who buys what?
Respect for those lost in Littleton, but the singer says artists like himself are not the ones to blame.
Quentin, would you say this movie teaches girls to be empowered by being violent and vicious?
This latest shooting has sparked calls for changes in many different areas.
Now let's discuss whether there is any link between violence on the screen and real violence.
A midnight showing of The Dark Knight Rises turned deadly when a gunman opened fire at the Century 16 Theater.
The stigma of violence in art and media is nothing new. From political times to the modern day, is there really a separation between fictional violence and real-world violence? People say it desensitizes and promotes aggression. The misinformation of violent art mirroring a violent person is very prevalent. You have political figures and news publications creating a scapegoat to avoid addressing real failures in society. There are countless studies and research debunking all these claims that people seem to ignore. The key reason depictions of fictional violence don't lead to real-world violence is the psychology of human beings. Human beings can differentiate fantasy and real-world events. They can read a book or watch a movie and have a completely different reaction versus if they had experienced those situations in real life. So where does the fear-mongering come from regarding violence in media? It mostly comes from conservatives who push for censorship for things they don't like, whether it's books, movies, or video games. A great example is when Kill Bill was being promoted. Conservatives were saying the movies were teaching women how to be aggressive, which if you've ever seen these movies, that is an odd conclusion to come to. The United States tends to be in its own little bubble, not realizing there are other places that disprove all these arguments that they are making against these type of movies and video games. A decent example is Japan, a place where it has very low crime rates compared to the United States. And yet, this country produces the most popular, violent, disturbing games, titles such as Demento.
You lure the man into your filthy body again and again.
Silent Hill. Siren Bloody Curse. Evil Within. Corpse Party. All these titles have a huge occult following worldwide. Demento is a game also known as Haunting Ground. This game is about having your bodily autonomy threatened. The enemies in this game value your sexual organs above your humanity. Sounds like a game that's pretty relevant to the modern day, even though it was released 20 years ago. Research has actually shown that with the increase of violent media such as art, video games, and movie, real-world violence has decreased. It's been proven to be good for socialization, teamwork, and relieving negative emotions in a positive way. Back to the art side of things. Very famous paintings depicting violence can give us insight into history. Whether it is expressing the tragedy and cruelties of war, these works are meant to make viewers uncomfortable. It's a fraction of the discomfort or fear of those lives it is depicting. There are multiple goals for paintings such as these. One could be forcing the viewer to face harsh realities that they've never have to have experienced for themselves. The goal can also be to invoke empathy. If not paintings, there are also photographs, photography, images that feel criminal to see, but their stories must be shared. A specific photograph that comes to mind is a disturbing image of a woman named Phan Thi Kim Phu when she was 9 years old. I can't show the image, so I can only describe it. She's running completely nude. There had just been an explosion. She removed her clothes to avoid burning to death. It's a very powerful image and story. Some would say to censor it, doing it uncomfortable, which is nothing compared to what the victims had felt during this senseless attack.
I remember June 8, 1972. I saw the airplane, and it's so loud, so close to me. Suddenly, the fire everywhere around me. The fire burned off my clothes, and I saw my arm got burned with the fire. I thought, oh my goodness, I get burned? People will see me different way?
Yet they blame school shootings, mass murder, and stabbings on fiction, when genocides were happening before such things. Video games are teaching kids how to kill, when humans have known how to kill since the beginning of time. People are also forgetting the external factors that feed the urge for violence: poverty, war, mental health issues, trauma, and many other things. Slender Man stabbings. The idea of blaming a short story based on an image from a Photoshop competition is incredibly odd, yet people use it as valid criticism against horror fiction. This case is more a lesson regarding untreated mental health and the constant scapegoating away from the actual issue. Because stories like these, people will use it as justification to defame fictional violence and the artists who make it, saying that you must be expressing your deep desires, which is completely false. Edgar Allan Poe, an influential figure in art and history. Students have been reading and analyzing his work for decades. He too faced criticism and defamation. This came from misrepresentations of his character and his work. Rufus Griswold, one of his biggest critics, which worsened after Edgar Allan Poe's death. I can't defend Edgar Allan Poe too much, since he did marry his 13-year-old cousin. To be clear, his critics didn't care about that, they just were upset about his writings, deeming it too vulgar and writings of a madman. I personally experienced a lot of hate online from a loud minority, saying that the work I produce is a reflection into my state of mind. In a way, they're right. But I think it is important to try to understand art and media rather than banning and censoring it. Art, specifically violent art, is meant to connect the emotions from the artist to the viewer. It's also a safe way to explore themes like death, danger, and the unknown without the risk of actual violence. Then there's the argument that artists who produce this type of work get sexual gratification from it. You can always tell the difference between normal horror, artwork, and fetish content. The best example I can think of is Mei-chan's Daily Life, a manga series about a woman who is looking for work and finds a job as a maid. Her employers torture, brutalize, essay her, and so many other awful things. They realize she's immortal and cannot die. This plot could be interesting if it had substance, but unfortunately it does not. These activities become her daily life, hence the title. Regardless of the torture, she happily continues working there. At one point, her head is removed and penetrated. They then make her have sex with her brother, who is also immortal. She becomes pregnant with their incest baby, and they take this incest child from her womb and put it into a blender. The rape, enjoyment, and blushing is the dead giveaway that this is fetish content. The creator of this manga is Wyatt Uzuka. This image gives you a clear picture of what this guy deal is. His name is attached to a porno called Rape Zombie, The Lust of the Dead. He's also the creator of the fetish manga about the real case of Junko Furuta, a real victim of torture and murder. His stories are clearly inspired by cases such as these, real-world violence, and he decides to sexualize and glorify it. He illustrates the people being tortured with facial expressions implying they're enjoying it. His obsession with killing pregnant women and their unborn children while defiling their corpses is pretty despicable. These things on their own aren't problematic, but the reason for its creation is for sexual magazines and sites is the problem. Unfortunately, media literacy is dead, and they think my work and his work are the same. My conclusion is violence in media doesn't make anyone violent. If they're violent, it was before consuming the media. Art is not black and white. There is a difference between using art to express desire and intent in just art. Let's educate ourselves a bit more on what the actual issues are. I'm Gothika. Thanks for listening to me.